on why a well-thought-out BRICS Development Bank will be beneficial. And the reasons for optimism that the bank will be beneficial, I teased out under the following headings. The impetus for emergence of BRICS, difference in the timing of BRICS Bank relative to those of existing development banks, the prevailing sense that the BRICS Bank should be complementary and not be a substitute to existing development agencies, and the shifting centers of world's production and consumption, another reason. And finally, availability of more financial innovation now than was the case in the past. The BRICS came about as a result of emerging markets griping about how the multilateral agencies do not take into consideration their need. And a big part of that is the US, Europe's hegemonic governance of the Bretton Woods system. The anachronistic governance and operational model that these multilateral agencies use. The dictate of the controllers, the US and Europe, is actually what determines where development fund goes.
But in terms of the sort of focus and flavor of the session that I'd like us to have, I think I'm happy if you're all happy and the panelists are happy to take it as read as something here needs to happen in terms of this development bank. The main argument for its existence we're going to take as read, unless someone has a particular problem with it. And then the question becomes what and how and the shape of it and so on and so forth. And that's where I'd like to focus. So Renee, if I can turn to you to address the topic in principle and anything you'd like to add.
The first question is, where are we going to get the capital from? The initial fund for the BRICS Development Bank is estimated at $50 billion US, with each member injecting $10 billion. If you compare the African Bank, which has $100 billion US to spend on infrastructure, is the $50 billion adequate? According to the African Bank themselves, they're saying the BRICS Development Bank has set its sights far too low. Also, will there be cohesion amongst infrastructure projects? So the question here is, could the BRICS Development Bank restructure the global order? India's trade minister seems to believe so. He argues that it will have a defining influence on the global order of the century, hence rivaling the Bretton Woods institutions that was initially established for the post-World War II recovery.
What is underpinning all of this is geopolitics. It was extremely evident in Durban, the convention center. These are geopolitical discussions with often an economic non-understanding. I'll tell you why. Today, because of distorted markets post-2008, capital has become almost a free public good. It has. Whether you're loaning money out of Japan, you're loaning money out of Switzerland, out of anywhere of Europe, you're getting capital below 2%. It's effectively free. Effectively. This is not a money issue, it's not a capital issue. There has not been enough D in DBSA, or not enough D in IDC. Hence we want to create another institution with always the word D in it. BRICS Development Bank. Development Bank of Southern Africa. Industrial Development Corporation. It's a positive word. And we assume because it has a developmental mandate, it's going to succeed. And somehow, this private sector banking institution is not to be trusted. I strongly disagree with that. The world's best regulated stock exchange, number one in the world, is the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We're not world class, we're world leading. $20 billion was made available to be channeled through the DBSA in 2010 for infrastructure projects in South Africa and SADC. How much has been spent? Zero. The Indians can't really build infrastructure in their own country, never mind in another continent. Those of you who've been to India, you fully understand what I'm saying. In Brazil, BNDES, Development Bank of Brazil, China Development Bank, we say we want this bank which can finance infrastructure, which can be economically enabling, multinational in nature, and build infrastructure in Africa. The Chinese and the Brazilians are saying, you know, that sounds familiar. That's us. China Development Bank, BNDES. Why do we need to create another institution to do actually what we're already doing and duplicate it? The last thing our continent needs, the last thing our country needs, is more bureaucracy, more dysfunctional institutions which are seeking to assist development, which not always is totally in line with how the market allocates capital. But I'm very skeptical about this notion of heavy state creating institutions around geopolitical conversations to try and drive growth in our continent when it's not even driving it here. Thank you.
It does seem that the time has come. If I listen to the sort of the political radar, the time has come for something that isn't the Bretton Woods institutions. And when you hear what people are saying and needing, and I think correctly, we want something, we need something that is less lender focused, i.e. in lender interests, following the interest of the World Bank or the IMF, right, their interests, and more borrower focused, addressing the needs of the borrower.
A simple measure for those of you as students of finance, IPO. That is the value of IPO coming through the equity market of South Africa is close to zero. So if it's that sophisticated and great and well regulated, how come it's not providing funds for incremental production? Hence we have pent-up unemployment close to 30-something%. So even if China were to provide all the funds, and as the moderator had asked, the structure, the governance model, the operational model was such that took into consideration the need of the one needing the fund and the conditions of the one needing the fund. I argue in my sanguine approach that because China, India, Brazil, South Africa are much more closer to the realities of developing countries, they will know how best to provide those funds to the recipient countries. How so? I give a fund to you in Nigeria. I need the negotiation of that fund that I, the BRICS Bank, provided to be transparent. The people need to know how much their country has borrowed and for what purpose, such that you have civil society monitoring where that fund is going. Such a well thought out BRICS Bank will be much more effective than the current one we have, where the dictate is, I have a geopolitical need in your location, I will give you funds to keep that kangaroo country running so long as I have a base, and not because I want your people to have jobs.